My job is going out to see directors of companies that want to innovate and grow. Got to be ambitious, they've got to have an idea they really want to bring to market and they're not quite sure how to do it.
Gillian Kavanagh is a powerhouse in the world of innovation and growth. A senior innovation and growth specialist for Innovate UK, she has a unique ability to spot talent and has been instrumental in shaping the success stories of many entrepreneurs.
He wanted to show me his collection, but there was only 5 pieces, so it wasn't a proper collection. But they were the most exquisite, beautifully made garments I've ever, to this day, ever seen. And that was Alexander McQueen.
Jillian collaborates with passionate professionals, eager to make waves in their industries, and it all begins with one pivotal question.
What is your vision for your business? I always say, if I could give you a magic wand and you could wave it, where do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? Because that sets the plan, the journey.
I'm Nicola Sands, and for this episode I'd highly recommend a pen and paper. Jillian's about to share some invaluable insights that every ambitious individual and business owner needs to hear. Hi all, just before we start, I've got a very quick favour to ask. If you do enjoy this episode and the content on this channel, please could you hit the subscribe button? It really helps us to grow, to keep the conversations going, and we want to make this podcast better and better as we go along. Let's dive in. Jillian, thanks for joining us on the SMB podcast. So, how did you get to be an innovation and growth specialist?
Well, thank you for inviting me on, I have to say, first of all. It's really nice to be here. I've worked in industry all my life, so, I've got a lot of experience of being in the outside world. I've had my own businesses as well, and I've worked across, the creative industries, fashion and film, and live events. And so I think I've also been a non-exec director, and I've been a chairwoman of a company, and I've helped sell a company. So I had a lot of transferable skills. And I think also with the position, it's also a case of your networks and your contacts and being able to speak with a director of a company and have those difficult questions sometimes, and not being afraid of that, and also being able to understand a P&L sheet.
Absolutely, that's really important. So just explain a bit about what your job actually is now then, Jillian.
Okay, so I'm part of Innovate UK, which is, it's all across the UK and also in Northern Ireland. And Innovate UK is part of UKRI, United Kingdom Research and Innovation, which sort of links to the government. And there's 9 councils, and the funding comes down through those councils, and we are the face-to-face aspect of Innovate UK. So in my job, my region that I cover is the Northwest. So from the borders of Cheshire up to the borders of Cumbria, Manchester, Liverpool, Lancashire. And so my job is going out to see directors of companies that want to innovate and grow. Got to be ambitious, they've got to have an idea they really want to bring to market and they're not quite sure how to do it. Or maybe they've started doing it and they need help, they need expertise, they need someone to come and assist them in doing it. Or possibly they want to grow and internationalise. Or maybe they're looking for investments and they're looking for funds, finance to pivot their business and to really grow. So we work with ambitious companies. That's what Innovate UK does.
How would you define innovation?
Innovation can be a product or a service that you want to bring to market that's innovative for your business, and it's even better if it's innovative for the world.
Have you got any case studies of people that you've helped and the examples of the kind of companies you've come across and worked with?
Yeah, so I've got a real cross-section of companies that I work with. So there's a medtech company I've worked with that was a spin-out from one of the universities in the Northwest. And there were doctors that had a brilliant idea of how to look at diagnosing cancers in bloods. And so they were brilliant on the methodical, medical aspects of their idea, but they were weak on the commercialisation of it and how they were going to get this to market. Because anything like medtech takes so long. You've got to, to perfect it and to have trials and things like that. So I help them with becoming more commercially aware, and we did that through lots of different programs that we have at Innovate UK. And we have a program called Investability Intensive Training, which is to get someone pitch ready. So we help them build a pitch deck. We help them apply for the intensive investability training, which is a competition. So there's only a few companies that are allowed, that get through onto it, where they're trained by like VCs, venture capitalists, so that they learn the new language of commercial business, really. And also helping them apply for other funding pots from, say, NIHR or things like that. And then we also got them what's called an IP audit, which Innovate UK, they're really good. We don't have them all the time. We get a handful. But for ambitious companies, they're really good. It enables a law firm to look at your intellectual property and advise you on what to protect. So in the medtech case, what they were doing, there's patents involved, there's trademarks, copyright, but there's also data sets because they're trialling it in a hospital. So they're collecting all this information, and that becomes very valuable.
I mean, that's a really interesting story about the medical company. But do you think anybody, any company, not necessarily highly technical, but can any company innovate?
Yes.
What about like even small businesses or?
Yes, small businesses can innovate. Absolutely. We work with a lot of startups that are just starting out and they've got a great idea and they're don't necessarily know where to go. So another one I've got is a creative company that is a startup and they're doing phenomenally well. They work with human digital avatars. Yeah, so in the entertainment industry, that's where they've applied it. And it also has there's also a lot of things they can spin out from it. So they've worked really hard. They haven't been going very long, but they're really going great guns, getting a lot of press. They opened New York Fashion Week.
Amazing.
Yeah. They're on a roll. It's just like brilliant what they're doing.
Does innovation really mean that you have to invent your own technology, or can it be changing the way a process takes place or something like that?
Can be a process within your business. Innovation means something new, a new approach, really. And it's actually about innovative thinking. And I think it's creative thinking of how you can streamline and process things and make something work for you in a more streamlined way. Innovate UK, we work with the ambitious businesses, but there's some businesses that can innovate themselves. They might not necessarily need us, So it could be that they're looking at, how to do like lean production, or it could be that they're looking at how to use their materials in a different way so that it becomes net zero or circular economy. Like, okay, we're a fashion company, we're making clothing. What we're doing with all the offcuts of this fabric, Or could we, instead of making so much stock and being left with it at the end of the season, like we all know when you go into shops and see sales or online sales, what can we do with that? Could we sort of almost manufacture to order? So could it be that by streamlining a process, looking at the whole process of the customer right through your business, you could actually streamline quite a lot more than probably what you realise. And a lot of people do innovate and they don't realise that's what they're doing. Specifically when, look, we've come out of COVID, things have been really difficult, businesses have we've lost businesses, other businesses have started up. It's a bit like those that have survived COVID, congratulations, because, you've come through a very unusual time. And sometimes companies pivot and change after that, but also being pressurised by not having enough funds coming in, or a difficult terrain outside external forces you sometimes to innovate and adapt and change. And that's what companies have to do today. You've got to be pretty agile to survive what's being thrown at you sometimes. And that's why the dinosaurs died out.
Of course.
Because they couldn't adapt to change. So, companies, some fall by the wayside, and others re-emerge. They're like the rise of the phoenix. They started out as one thing and then go into something else.
So can anybody reach out to Innovate UK, even to find out whether you can help with anything? Because some people might not even be sure whether there's anything you can help them with.
Well, we're not sort of like a business advice service.
Okay.
We are an innovation service. They've got to know what they want to do. And sometimes it could be, people reach out to us. As I said, I only work in the Northwest, but anyone in the UK can contact Innovate UK and have a conversation with an advisor like myself. But we look for companies that are specifically innovative thinking, want to make a change, want to grow, want to be, being ambitious, want to expand and go into Europe or the rest of the world, or there's lots of things we offer to help them do that.
You talk about intellectual property as well. That's a really important, that's almost a buzzword at the moment, would you say? Why is intellectual property so important for businesses?
Intellectual property is the intangible assets of your business. So businesses in the old days, it was, assets were measured by bricks and mortar, computers, cars, what 3D physical products you've got. Intellectual property is about your creativity being protected in a market, in a certain classification. We're taught by the Intellectual Property Office, so we can give some advice, but we're not experts. But I know in my working life, I've come across times when intellectual property has been under threat or something has happened. But that intellectual property becomes an intangible asset that adds value to your business. So, for instance, Walt Disney is valued about $360 million. I'm going in American accent there, which is wow. Yeah, definitely. And of that, 80% of that is the 80-20 rule. The 80% of that is intellectual property. Yes, that's the Mickey Mouse and the Pocahontas and all the other characters that they have maximised and applied in different areas under different trademarks. For instance, Mickey Mouse on a duvet cover for the kids' bedroom. That is trademarked for that particular product or that classification of products, fabric or textiles, as well as the cartoon, as the film and the book and the stickers and the badges and the Minnie Mouse ears and, hair slides.
So if you are not careful, it could be disastrous if you don't have a proper hold on your intellectual property. How can companies protect themselves?
Well, that's where you should, come to Innovate UK, or you can go to, trademark lawyers, IP lawyers, and there's a website called citma.org, CITMA.org, that has all trademark licensing, patent, copyright lawyers on it that you can look up for the area where you live.
Oh, that's a useful bit of
information.
It is,
yes. And most IP lawyers will give you half an hour for free.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the Intellectual Property Office runs what we call pat labs, pat libraries, patent libraries. Like in Manchester, you have to check what the dates are, but they'll have experts there that can give you some free advice as well.
Oh, okay.
But it's a money spinner. It is a way for your business to generate more revenue.
Can you give us some examples? Say there's a small business. I mean, ours is a production company. Our business is a production company. Where do you look for your intellectual property? I mean, what are examples of your intellectual property?
Okay. So if you have an email template, this is just really basic email template that you and your team have to use with the layout, that is actually classed as copyright. So anything that is printed or designed by you, also because you're production, there'll be things that you do, like all your films, everything that you film, that is what you've created. Therefore, that also belongs to you. That's your intellectual property. Anything you write down, any plays, literary, poems, if it's written down, musical scores. I mean, the whole music business is based on intellectual property. When you look at it, there's the artist rights, there's the recording rights, there's the publishing rights. So there's if like your jingle for your productions, like for this podcast, that also has a copyright. So, there's so much that you have that you just take for granted and you don't necessarily realise is valuable. So it's like a jingle. It's worth a lot of money.
Companies need to, really make sure that they've protected everything that they own, basically.
Yes, and also within the business, they need to look at how the team work around intellectual property. So if you have an R&D department, for instance, is everyone allowed to walk in and out all the time, or who's allowed privy to what? In some instances, in some businesses, you've got to close off those R&D areas.
Okay. Yeah.
And be very secure about certain things, especially if it's anything to do with patents, because as soon as it's put into the public domain, it's invalid. So you also have to be careful who you talk to.
Yeah.
Because if you're going around telling all your friends,
yes, yeah,
it's already in the public domain.
Absolutely.
So you're invalidating your patent before you've started.
Yeah, there's such a lot to think about. In terms of innovation, Gillian, what are the biggest challenges that companies face?
I think, in my experience doing this job, quite often it is the financial aspects of it. And this is where, as a business, you have to really consider your long-term strategy and what your vision and goal is for your business. So, for example, sometimes I've met with companies, or quite often it's startups, and they are fixated on patenting. We want to patent this. And it may not necessarily be the best idea to patent it for their long-term strategy. Because some people in their minds think when it's intellectual property, it's a patent. There's lots of other things besides that. It's like the know-how, the secrets, the secret sauce. What is Heinz baked beans' secret sauce? What is Coca-Cola's recipe? They're not patented. They are trade secrets, and they know
proprietary information.
Yes.
How do you protect that secret information?
Well,
is there a way of doing that legally?
Well, there's not in protecting it like a patent, but there is in your behaviour. So, for instance, the secret recipe for Coca-Cola, there's no more than 5 people in the world at any one time that has a part of the recipe.
Gosh.
No one has the full recipe unless they all come together for it. But maybe that's an urban myth. But
it's a clever way of doing it.
Yes. So things like that, Yeah. So going back to patenting, there are some things in our lives that we use every week or every day that was never patented. And so they used the money for the patent on marketing. And they were so good at marketing that 50 and 60 years on from that time, we used the name of the product as a verb for vacuuming. Hoover.
Hoover, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So they used their money on marketing. They didn't patent it.
Yeah.
But this is the thing with patenting, it uses up a lot of money in your cash flow. It depends how much cash flow you got. So if you patented something in the UK, as an example, it might cost you like £3,000 to £6,000, and it's just for the UK. And you might want to patent in America, and that might be 10 grand. And then you might want to patent in China, and that's another. So it all adds up, and it's not just about patenting it. It's about policing that patent.
Because, I don't think there's such a thing as the patent police or the patent police, is there? So it will be up to the individual business owner.
Yes, the Intellectual Property Office would quite often say if something's come up, but you have to keep an eye out for yourself. I mean, I know someone that works in a business where they have an R&D area that's in a completely separate building to anybody else. And they don't release the patent, they don't file the patent till they've done all the testing and they're about to go to market.
Okay.
Because then that gives them an advantage. Because there are other companies around the world that specifically look at certain industries for the new patents coming out, and then they can tweak them.
Oh, goodness. It is a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. And that's where Innovate UK comes in to help. So are you very busy on a day-to-day basis at the moment then,
Yes.
Jillian? Have you got a lot of innovating companies at the moment in the Northwest?
We have so much innovation going on in the Northwest.
Is it a real hub of innovation, the
Yes.
Northwest of England?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Northwest has always been a hub of innovation. I mean, look at, the Spinning Jenny, James Hargreaves, back in 1830 something he wasn't he? He's responsible for us having woven fabric, woven cloth, because before then everyone was on a small hand loom working from home. We've gone back to that, haven't we? So in the little cottages, like where I live in Lancashire, there's little cottages, and people, would north-facing rooms, because they get steady light, would be with a loom, weaving by hand in a way.
When you go into a company and they've asked for your help, what's the first thing you look for? Do you sort of do like an audit of the company and work out how you can help them? What's the process normally?
I normally ask the director, we'll have a conversation, and I'll gather information. What's the turnover? But the main thing is, what is your vision for your business? I always say, if I could give you a magic wand and you could wave it, where do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? Because that sets the plan, the journey. That sets out the map of where the director, who's the captain of the ship, wants to see his business going. And then seeing how it's aligned. Because sometimes that's what they dream, but this is where they are. So it's sort of then putting together a strategy to work towards, okay, well, what they're working on, if they've got any ideas, or, sometimes it's having difficult conversations with them about things, profit margins, and, sometimes you're on the wrong trajectory. We need to go up, not down. So maybe there's something that's held them back, or something they can't see. Because what I find, and I've run my own business, so I know it firsthand, is quite often directors are firefighting every day. And they're so in the trenches that they haven't come up for air or seen the horizon. And so when they get in someone like myself or some of the other business support services that are available in the Northwest, it gives the director a chance to step away from his desk and have those conversations. Because quite often a director is quite a lonely position. There's not, unless it's a big company and they've got a senior team, quite often it's a lonely place to be because you can't confide in the staff. and he'll just,
you don't want to unsettle the workforce.
No, everything's fine, but behind closed doors, like, how are we going to get out of this mess? Or an order that was supposed to go out, they've gone bust, we're not going to get paid. There's, got wages to pay at the end of the month. So maybe that idea I've got has got to go on the back burner, and,
So it's like they can have an additional team member to talk to. But is there ever a circumstance where you think, that's not a very good idea, but how am I going to tell them?
Yes.
How do you handle that?
I tell them.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to be honest. I might pre-warn them with, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, right. But I think it's important that we discuss it. But it's, at the end of the day, I just lay out the options and just give them sort of like, if you go down this road, this is what we could help you with. If you go down that road, then that's not something we can help you with. Yeah. Or, I think it's giving someone the options, so that, because they have to make the decision, it's their business. I'm not running their business for them. I'm just like a sounding board.
You mentioned that Innovate UK, there are funding pots available for some businesses. Do you think people are aware that there is funding available for ideas if they're innovative enough? If they're innovative enough.
Well, okay, I'm just going to put it out there. There are no grants. It's called competitions now, because there's a limited amount of money in that pot. And so people have to apply for it. With Innovate UK, there are certain things that come out on a regular basis, like the Smart UK grant. And we help people with applications for it. It's got to be very, very innovative for that. But there's other things that come out, like, Women in Innovation Award, the Creative Catalyst for creative businesses. And these are all competitions. So we help people hone their idea and then write the application form. They have to write it, but we can guide them.
It's interesting there's a competition for creative businesses as well, because you tend to think with innovation, it's very science, technical focused, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No. When you think that the amount of GDP that the creative industries generates for this country, we are number 3. So it's financial services, life sciences, and then it's creative businesses, above manufacturing, food and drink, advanced materials.
Wow, I didn't realise that.
Yes, so creative industries are really important to this country, and we're very creative people in the UK. And so, this particular fund that comes out, I don't know how long it will last for. It only comes out once a year. The Creative Catalyst, it might be it's just for one more year, then it changes again. Everything keeps changing. So things pop up for 3 weeks and then it goes away, and then something else comes along. So it's about watching what comes out. But the thing is that the UK government want there to be a million more jobs in creative industries by 2030.
Wow.
And that's the intention behind this funding.
Yes.
And also a lot of creative businesses come up with great ideas that can be leveraged for something else. And there's this whole new movement now. It's like finally the world has woken up to the power of creativity. It's great. As a creative myself.
Yes. It's good news for us as well.
Yeah, it's great news for you. So there's also things coming out to do with creative thinking, because the way we how we think as a creative is very collaborative, and also we think outside the box a lot of the time. So those skills are really important for, say, an engineer. So an engineer who's working on Formula One, has to be a really creative engineer to solve the problems. How can we make this car go faster? What are the aerodynamics of it? What's the propulsion of it? What's the velocity? So if he's a creative thinker, he'll make a better engineer. So the creative thought process is, I think, it's going to start permeating more industry than what it does at the moment.
Yeah. Do you think, Gillian, somebody could do your job if they hadn't had the background that you've had running your own businesses and you've worked in the creative business, you worked in fashion, didn't you?
Yes.
In fact, didn't you know Alexander McQueen, or didn't you meet him?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay. Oh, yeah, this is a story. So, yeah, at one time I was sourcing Britain for new designers for Bergdorf Goodman of New York and Neiman Marcus and Holt Renfrew of Canada and Joyce Boutique of Hong Kong. So my job was to source Britain for new designers, mainly women's wear, but also accessories and other things too, including, well, there's another girl that did decorative home things in the team. And I would write trend reports for the American stores for what was happening in Britain, which was really interesting. I love trends. So one day I went to see a young man who just finished his 2-year apprenticeship of tailoring on Savile Row. Savile Row runs apprenticeships for anyone interested out there, where they really learn how to cut beautiful jackets and trousers and hand stitch and finish to an impeccably high degree. And this young man was terribly shy, lived at home with his mum and dad. His dad was in East London, and his dad was a London cabbie, black cab driver, and his name was Lee. And he wanted to show me his collection, but there was only 5 pieces, so it wasn't a proper collection. But they were the most exquisite, beautifully made garments I've to this day ever seen. The cut of them was the Savile Row cut, which is a very slim cut of the body, high into the armholes, and elegant long sleeves. It was women's wear: jacket, a dress, a trouser, a skirt, in pinstripe fabric with shocking pink lining, and a white cotton blouse to go with it. So when the New Yorkers come over, I said, I'm going to introduce you, even though you don't have a collection. Because the collection's much bigger than those pieces. You know, you're talking like 40, 50 pieces for a collection or a range. And so the vice president of Bergdorf's came over, and the fashion director, and 2 buyers. And I said, you've got to meet this young man. I want you to make a connection with him, because I know he's going to be successful, very successful in the future. And I said, I want you to make that connection now, so that when he properly gets his collection together, you've already got the inroads there. And they were very reluctant, because he hasn't got a collection and our time is busy, and, you know, being New Yorkers, hard nosed, and like, we don't have time. And it's like, no, you're coming. You have to come. I told them I was very straight direct. So I dragged them all along to this little office in Holborn, I think it was, up these stairs. And they were blown away. And that was Alexander McQueen.
Amazing.
Yeah, Lee is his real name. Alexander's his middle name. Gosh,
I mean, so you've been talent spotting throughout your career, really, haven't you?
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, I mean, you talent spotted Lee McQueen, Alexander McQueen.
Yeah, quite.
Any other famous names that you came across?
Yes,
before your job at Innovate.
Yeah, there was a Malaysian Chinese guy who couldn't speak very much English, and his business partner, called Kevin, could speak. He was Chinese and could speak Cantonese, Mandarin, and English. And so I went to their workshop in East London. It was a tiny little workshop, and this guy made, like Vivienne Westwood fashion show, they'll have certain shoes. He would make the shoes for the fashion shows. So there'd be like 10 pairs of shoes, and so he would make these shoes, and he was cutting out leather on a cutting table. And I was talking to them, and that man was Jimmy Choo.
Wow. Gosh.
Yeah, before he became well known. Yeah.
Amazing.
So I was advising him on how to build a range of shoes. You need to have a range of shoes for us to introduce you to our buyers. And this is what they would be looking for, to give them an idea. And that's actually, you're very right. That's still what I do today.
Yeah. You were always talent spotting. But do you think that it would be difficult to do your job, really, wouldn't it, if you hadn't had a background in business and, I suppose, innovation in the past?
Well, I don't know, I suppose. I mean, there are people, who haven't had their own business, but they've worked in industry and that are on the team. and they have fantastic skills. They have a different approach. Maybe they're more methodical than me, or maybe they're more drawn to doing advanced materials than I am, and know all about polymers and plastics and resins, and so they're specialists in their area in a way. But we cover all sectors, each one of us.
Do you ever go into a business and you just feel really excited by it and you just know it's going to do really well?
Yes.
Brilliant. You get that feeling quite a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some immensely creative people in the Northwest doing amazing things. Just quietly behind closed doors, getting on with it. But, some game-changing things. I can't tell you what they are.
It's an exciting time, isn't it? It's a very exciting time for innovation. I mean, there are some things like AI, which people are a bit... I mean, some people are really embracing it. Other people are a bit scared of it. I mean, do you think AI is a good thing?
I think it's a bit like electricity. Electricity can light the room up, or electricity can kill you. So,
Very interesting. I love that analogy.
So it depends who is using it. But with AI, I think the issue with AI is that the law is very slow to catch up. So it's a bit like the Wild West at the moment. And it's reflection of the integrity of someone in what they're doing in AI. That's how I see it personally.
So you think there needs to be some regulation in there?
I think people need to be aware of what it is and what it can do, because it can be a magnificent force for good in the right hands and the right application. So, but if it's open source AI, you lose your intellectual property. So that means you're giving your ideas away for free. So that's why you have to be careful how you use it. So what I say to some of my clients is, why don't you build your own library? And once you've built your own library, write every single book that's in that library. Then you've got your own in-house AI that is worth, it's got a massive value on it because it's very niche.
They've got their own. There's no IP issue then, is there? If they do that,
no, because they can control it, and then they can license. They can do a license for people to use that AI because it's so specific on a certain area of their expertise. So that's a way to do it.
Yes.
But I mean, like in the US, I think it was a few months ago in the FT, I read it, that Microsoft had trained its AI on Disney's Pixar without asking Disney.
Really?
A complete infringement, of trademark. Yeah, complete infringement. And so it was going to court. It was going to be a massive court case, but of course it got settled out of court. We shall never know how much for. Yeah. But yes.
Very, very interesting. And people are kind of becoming more and more aware of it. Actually, Innovate UK helps businesses to understand AI.
Yes, we do. We've got fantastic relationships with the Alan Turing Institute and Hartree Centre down in Daresbury, data scientists, AI scientists. And for certain companies, at the moment, there is an initiative on. So creative company, construction company, transport, agri-tech, agriculture can have fully funded advice from the data scientists on AI and help maybe your data processors or software developers work on how to build your AI to understand it more. Yeah.
Well, Jillian, thank you so much for sharing all your expertise today. What are your hopes personally for the future?
Well, if I just consult my crystal ball I've got in my handbag, I think at the moment I'm really loving what I'm doing at Innovate UK. I find it really thrilling and challenging, and it's wonderful to meet all these amazing people doing creative things. I do a lot of creative things myself outside of work, and maybe in the future that's something that I'll naturally go and do. But for now, I'm really happy helping other businesses bring their dreams to life.
And how can people contact you? Are you on LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn, yes, Gillian with a G.
Yeah,
Kavanagh with a K.
Yes.
As in Kavanagh QC. Yes, you can contact me on LinkedIn, yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, well, Gillian, thank you so much, and very best of luck for the future.
Thank you.
Keep innovating.
Yes, and you keep innovating too.
Thanks, Gillian.
Thanks ever so much.
Have you worked hard to achieve success in your field? Do you think you'd be a great guest on Success Means Business? Could you inspire others and help to teach them how to make the very best of their life, their goals, their profession? If so, get in touch. We are looking for guests on Success Means Business all the time, and we would love to talk to you. Success Means Business is brought to you by Applehead Media.